In secretary, we are going to the sterilization room. Basically, what happens in sterilization room is the sterility measures that we take to see that the larvae that we are producing, either for the medical part of it where they are used for hospital setting for managing of chronic wounds, they are sterile enough for that kind of work. And also when we are talking about the feeds, also the maggots or the larvae, the second and the third instar must have sterility measures to be taken. So you must undergo sterility. So that is where we are going for doing now the process itself. Now I will hand over to Daktari.
Okay. Hi, Daktari.
Hi.
How are you?
I am fine.
I've been handed over to you.
Oh.
Na nimefundishwa huko jinsi the maggots are very important in agriculture. Then I've been told also you treat people using these maggots. And I was like, that is not true. Please talk to us about that.
Yeah, that is very true. Maggots can also be used in medical field to treat stubborn wounds. And
Right.
actually, that's what in medical field we call it maggot debridement therapy.
Right.
The maggot debridement therapy actually is, we use the maggots at the larva stage to remove the necrotic tissue. The necrotic tissue is what we call dead tissue.
Right.
Actually, what we generally feel as a bad smell from a wound, that is dead tissue from a wound.
Right.
So the maggots usually feed on the dead tissue, leaving a very clean and fiber tissues to germinate.
Great.
Yes.
So you're using the maggot at its larval stage, which we have learnt there are 3 stages during that larva period. So which one in particular works well for the healing of the wounds?
The one which works well for the healing is the first stage. As soon as they are actually 24 hours old. So that is the stage we usually use for wound management.
Wakiwa wadogo kabisa?
Kabisa, you cannot
Right.
even be able to see very clearly.
Right.
Yeah, because that is actually the stage where they are supposed to feed intensively
Right.
on any dead tissue.
Right.
So after that, it will clean the wound.
Does it matter what kind of wound it is? It could be maybe a home injury, nimeanguka pale nyumbani, my animal. Can you also treat animals with the same?
Yeah, we do, even for animals.
Right.
So long as we have a way of restraining them from removing the maggots wherever they are, we can be able to.
Right.
Because the indication is any dead tissue. It doesn't matter. It could be as a result of road accident, as a result of burns, as a result of pathological conditions like diabetes, pathological conditions like those ones who are suffering from some cancers,
Right.
where we just make sure that the maggots feed on the dead tissue to make the patient feel a bit better, no smell and no pain.
Right.
Yeah.
For how long has this treatment been in, practice?
In Kenya, we can say it is still a new technology,
Right.
but worldwide it has been used across the world.
Over the years?
Yes, in Kenya we introduced it in 2013.
Right.
That is more than 10 years ago.
Right.
With a proof of concept study which was done in KNH in collaboration with CALRO. And then after that, it was approved by our ethics, the UN KNH, that it can be used to treat patients.
Right.
So we have been using it since 2013.
That's in. Is there a bit of shock, or rather, mgonjwa amekuja hapo kidonda it's in a very bad condition, and then unamwambia going to introduce maggots to you, and they're like, wait, that is so disgusting, I don't want that. Do you deal with that?
Yeah, we usually deal with that because as a medical procedure, before you perform any procedure, including maggot therapy, you have to explain to the client or the patient clearly what to expect, what you are going to do, what to expect from day 1 to the day of removal. So in most cases, when you are mentioning the idea of maggots, they are like, hey, that one we are not aware, it's like disgusting. But when you explain to them, including the stages, they always take it positively. And by the way, these are patients who have suffered from this wound for more than 5 years.
All right.
So they will always be looking for any possible alternative.
Right. So when I choose to go the maggot direction when it comes to healing my wound, does it come with the benefit of a more speedier recovery, or what is that basic advantage that will make me go for the maggot as opposed to the other treatment, options that are there?
Okay. So usually the maggot therapy has several advantages, because the comparison we are making is from maggot therapy or surgical debridement in theater. So the obvious one is the cost, because maggot therapy you may need to use something like 5,000, but for the same person to go to surgery, it will take between 50 to 80,000 Kenya shillings. Number two, the surgeon cannot treat those 5 areas, including cavities, the holes which are inside the wound, but the maggots can. It can actually get all the way from the foot of the leg to the knee using the inside. So that is another advantage.
Right.
The debridement is almost 100%, but for the surgeon it will be about 60% there.
Right.
Yeah.
So
and then the other advantage is there will be no need to use antibiotics as opposed to the surgery, whereby after the surgery you have to put the patient on antibiotics for 5 days. That increases the cost, that increases the side effects and all that. For the maggots, it is just one-off.
Great. So very finally, as we wind up this very insightful conversation on the importance of this maggots, you know, I specifically wonder, nikishapona, kidonda yangu imehil, imejifunika vizuri, do we clean out the maggot or what happens?
So usually what happens, we introduce the maggots at that early stage, after, as soon as they hatch. That is 24 hours. Then we put it on the wound, and it stays in the wound for 48 hours, feeding actively. After 48 hours, because the maggots naturally want to go to the next stage, which is pupa, that is time to remove.
Right.
So there is nothing which remains in the wound.
Great.
And after we have removed, and the tissue has started granulating, we can now go to the next stage, which could be, it might heal spontaneously. Number two, it might the wound might go for grafting if it is extensive.
Right.
Or it can go to any other process, because the biggest burden of any wound is the dead tissue.
Right.
That is what delays the wound to heal.
And this treatment has been tried and tested on animals?
We have done on few animals. I think I remember a cat and a dog, and they just work as simply because the maggots deals with only dead tissue.
Right.
So animals are just having the same tissue as humans.
Are we going to also advance this kind of treatment into our livestock?
Can be done so long as there is dead tissue for the maggots to feed on.
Tumetembea sana lakini bado hatujaona mkulima yote ambaye atakwambia this my animal used to have this injury and then the maggot treatment work. Ni kama hii sensitization haijafika kila mahali vile inafaa kufika. What's the way forward there? The
sensitization right now is mostly on
humans. Okay.
So maybe as you say that, maybe as we advance, when people are now aware about what maggots do to the wounds.
And we're specifically working with the maggot from a green bottle fly. Nisene nichukue kutoka kwa inzi yoyote ingine?
No.
Right.
It has to be that particular one, the Lucilia sericata.
Right.
The ones we usually see around the toilets and all that.
Right.
That is the only one which can be used, because research has shown that it is the only one which has the correct size of the maggot which can deal with the dead tissue. But Carlo, I think, is doing some studies to see whether they can use the domestic ones, the ones which are available around.
Right.
But that is something maybe in the future.
Right. Thank you so very much, Daktari, for speaking to us. I'm hoping one of these fine days when you do a case study on now the bigger ruminants, which are the cats and small dogs, we'll be there to see how it's done and also monitor the progress.
Yes.
Sindio?
We'll be happy to do that.
Thank you so much for speaking to us and keep up the good job that you're doing.
You.
Right. There you go. If you thought it was, magic, ama nilikuwa na waingiza box nikikwambia huyu inzi ambaye sana sana utampata kwa choo ama pale kwa butchery, anaweza tumika pia hospitalini na pia na wakulima, then you've had it from our doctor. This fly is very important. And remember, we are working with the green bottle fly. See ile inzi ya black, see ile inzi ya blue, the green one in particular. Keep watching Kenya's Go. Like we always tell you, every single day there is a moment on the program.